Hey there, it's John from Heroes and Legends. Welcome to another edition of This Week in Magic the Gathering. So we're going to take a closer look at Grand Prix San Diego, and especially the top deck, which may be a little surprising. We're going to see a small but important product announcement, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about what is going on with Modern and the Zendikar Fetchlands. So before we get started, I just wanted to look quickly at our new Patreon page. So this went live yesterday. If you didn't see the video that I posted yesterday, definitely check it out and give you a lot more details. But I just wanted to quickly say thank you to our first two patrons. Really awesome that we got a response that quickly. Thank you very much. So this will be one of the first videos where their names will be in the description as patrons to help provide content for all the viewers. And there's some pretty cool giveaways at the milestone goals, so definitely check these out. One patron, when we get to the $30 per month, will win 3 packs of Standard that I'll open on the channel. At $90, we'll do a giveaway for the 6 packs of Standard, and then when we get $300, we'll open and give away a Standard booster box to one lucky patron. So a lot of cool giveaways, of course, a lot of other stuff on here too, so check it out, and let's move on to Grand Prix San Diego. So first off, just want to say congratulations to Michael Majors, who won Grand Prix San Diego, and this was a standard tournament. Let's quickly look at the brackets. And as you can see, the runner-up was Artur Valila. Also in the top 4, you had Paul Rietzel, so I'll let you kind of glance at the top 8 quickly, and then we'll take a closer look at the decks. If you look at the top 8 deck list, you see a lot of the stuff you normally see. Abzan Aggro, Abzan Control, you got Black-Red Dragons, Esper Dragons, Green-White Megamorph, Jeskai. But the first place and second place decks were interesting and used a few more cards from Magic Origins. Archer's deck was the Abzan Constellation deck, so we've seen this in the Star City Games Opens. It definitely played a role in the Pro Tour as well last week, but I think this is the highest finish it's seen, coming in at second place. Now, Michael Majors was playing Blue-Red Tutelage, and this was a deck that was around a little bit during the Pro Tour, but it felt sort of niche there. Here, it took the top spot, and it looked very good. So a few things. Of course, for starters, it's a mill deck, and it's running on 4 Sphinx's Tutelage. And then you have your card draw engines, which is Monastery Siege, Magmatic Insight, Tormenting Voice, Treasure Cruise, and of course, Jace Avern's Prodigy, which also doubles as a formidable Planeswalker. On top of that, you have your cards that are going to help you stay alive while you're trying to play out your mill strategy, and these are cards like Whelming Wave, Roast, Send to Sleep. You have your Dig Through Time in here to help you get your pieces. You have an Elamarat's Archive, and one of that to help get a little extra value. And then if you look at the sideboard, there's even more Magic Origins cards with some Fiery Impulses, another Whelming Wave. Overall, really cool build, and I think really fun deck to maybe try out at Friday Night Magic. So overall, if you looked at the field, Ensoul Artifact was the biggest deck there, and it seemed like people were still not necessarily prepared for it in a lot of cases. It seemed like a lot of decks were sideboarding to deal with the mono red aggro deck, which actually won the Pro Tour, but they maybe missed out on putting enough cards on the sideboard to deal with Ensoul Artifact. So overall, Ensoul Artifact probably saw the best showing in the tournament. However, you notice there were no copies of it in the top 8 itself, but this deck did make it all the way to number 1, and it wasn't a deck that was quite as big in the field, so something to watch for. Another thing you may have to sideboard against, but really cool builds. Really exciting to see this take the Grand Prix. Finally, last thing I just wanted to mention, and I'll leave links to this information too so you can take a closer look, of course, but they have on the Wizards website the top 5 cards of a Grand Prix San Diego, and number 5 was Unravel the Ether. Number 4 was Dramoka's Command. Number 3 was Starfield of Nyx, which we saw in the second place deck. Number 2 was Jace Avern's Prodigy, which of course we saw in the first place deck and a lot of other decks. And then finally, Sphinx's Tutelage was number 1, mostly because of the splash it made, really winning the Grand Prix. Also, there was a Grand Prix in Hong Kong this weekend, and this one was limited, so I won't spend quite as much time on this, but did want to say congratulations to the winner, and I hope I don't butcher his name too much, Shayan Hesai. So I hope I got that at least close to being right. And the top 5 cards that were big in limited, for the Grand Prix were Rock's Maulers, Sentinel of the Eternal Watch, which, yeah, that is a beating if you've ever played against that. Reeve Soul, Whirler Rogue, and Pia and Kieran Nalaar, which is another real strong card. I had a chance to play that in Sealed, and it's fantastic. And Star City Games also had their Open Series this weekend. This time was a Legacy Open, and Standard was the 5K and Modern 5K events. So Legacy was taken by Omnitel. Standard was taken by Bant Heroic, and a couple mono red aggro decks showing up in the top 8 over here. And then, of course, in Modern, actually Naya Zoo took the top spot, which was kind of cool. I really like that deck, and it's not one you always see taking top 8 spots. Other than that, you kind of had your normal run-of-the-mill stuff in the Modern 5K. All right, moving on from tournaments, and just wanted to look at a quick product announcement. It came out a few days ago. Not really big enough to do a separate video on, but wanted to acknowledge it. They announced the 2015 Holiday Gift Box. And of course, it's based around Battle for Zendikar. And as you can see here, there's some new art we get a chance to look at with Gideon taking on some big Eldrazi. So actually pretty cool art there. Now normally this isn't a item that experienced players picked up. This is really for newer players. But there's something interesting in this one. You get your 5 packs, of course, of Battle for Zendikar. You get your storage box. You get plastic dividers, sticker sheets, and you get an alternative art card from Battle for Zendikar, which is cool. But you also get 20 Battle for Zendikar basic lands. And I have a feeling these lands will be pretty sought after because they are full art lands. And I really hope they just look, I think they will look amazing. Mark Rosewater's alluded to that already. So it's going to be cool to see just how popular these lands are. Now, granted, there's other ways to get lands other than buying them here. But just kind of makes me wonder. It just makes it a little more enticing, especially if maybe you're sort of interested in getting the alternative art card. Maybe this just pushes you over the edge to see the 20 lands in there as well. So this has an MSRP of $24.99, which I guess originally was published as $19.99, and it will come out November 19th. So finally, I just want to talk quickly about Fetchlands from Zendikar, and I know I've talked about these in the last couple Market Watch videos, but this was such a big deal. I wanted to focus a little more on its impact on the community this time. So the announcement was made that Battle for Zendikar won't have the enemy Fetchlands, which a lot of people just kind of assumed were going to be in there. I mean, I thought they were going to be in there myself and kind of speculated that we'll see them. But, of course, Mark Rosewater made the announcement a few days back that that wasn't the case. They're going to have a different set of dual lands. There's going to be a cool rare cycle that hopefully will be exciting. And of course, Zendikar also will have the full art land as well, basic lands. So, long story short, from a marketing business point of view, this makes sense. We saw the allied color Fetchlands show up in cons. Why was that? Tarkir was an area, a world, a plane that we have not visited before. Players didn't know what to expect. And what was the hook for cons, really? It was basically, hey, this time we got wedges. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Some players like that, especially players that maybe played during the Alara block were kind of excited about that. And there's a hint that probably down the road we'll see some dragons and stuff like that, some pretty cool things coming in the block. Okay, that's fine. But where's the hook? Where's the draw? What's really getting me to go out and buy this set and get excited about it? The Fetchlands played a big role in that. That was the role they played from a marketing point of view, from a business point of view, and it sure did work. Cons sold like crazy, and it was a great set, and I love it. I love the environment. I love the limited environment, but it really, I think, was the Fetchlands that made players run out there day one and want to, participate in the pre-release, participate in game day, just go out there and play the set and buy packs, and that's what sells sets, that kind of hype, that kind of hook, that kind of spice. And let's face it, Battle for Zendikar doesn't need any help. We're going back to a plane that's very popular with players. We're seeing full art basic lands, which is another thing that's very popular. We have Eldrazi coming back, which is another very popular creature type. We have some cool mechanics. It's not really safe to assume anything, but I kind of feel like Landfall will be showing back up again, or some. We've already seen one spoiler that has a pretty cool Eldrazi mechanic on it. So this set doesn't need any help. It's going to sell, and it doesn't need Fetchlands. If you throw the Fetchlands in there, you're just wasting them, basically, from a marketing business point of view, anyway. There will be a set at some point, probably within a year or two, hopefully, that is going to need a little bit of a hook, that's going to need a little bit of spice added to it, and guess what? That's when we're going to see these enemy Fetchlands show up. They'll show up to kind of draw us into a new plane that maybe we're not familiar with yet. Having said that, okay, from a business point of view, I get it. It makes sense. There it is. From a gameplay point of view, and a player point of view, and a modern point of view, this is painful. This is hurting a lot of players' ability to play modern. And here's the thing with Magic. I mean, Magic really depends on keeping its player base happy, especially its hardcore players who are the ones that are pouring a lot of money into the product and going out there and playing a lot of limited, cracking a lot of packs. And if I'm a player and I can't get into modern, if I'm maybe getting bored with standard, or maybe I'm tired of trying to play update my deck every couple months when a new set comes out for standard, or change, follow the standard metagame, which can be very difficult, time consuming, and expensive. Maybe I just want to get into modern because legacy is too expensive, vintage is obviously too expensive, and I still want to play a competitive format where there's regular tournaments that I can go to. Modern makes the most sense, but the barrier for entry is just getting worse and worse all the time. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because on one hand, I think Wizards understands, or at least part of Wizards of the Coast understands, the importance of getting the cards out there for Modern. And if you look at Modern Masters 2015, now there are a lot of flaws with the whole situation there, don't get me wrong, with quality control and maybe some of the card selection and stuff, but I will say they did a better job with this than the original Modern Masters of getting product printed and out there. With this product, players were able to go out, they were able to get packs, usually below MSRP in most cases, at least for a while. And I never felt like there was a shortage. I never felt like there was price gouging going on. If I wanted product, I could get product. Now, like I said, maybe they could have done a better selection with the cards they put in there, and obviously quality control was a huge issue. But I could get packs, I could get singles. There are definitely more Tarmogoyfs out in the world than there were a few months ago. So that's good. Now, the backlash to that is whenever you get more cards out in people's hands, you spark more interest in the format, which causes prices to go up. So you're in an interesting catch-22 there, because now I open a Tarmogoyf and I'm like, wow, I'm one step closer to building this deck I really wanted to build. Okay, I need to go out in the secondary market and buy these 20 cards to finish it off, and all of a sudden values start going up. So they're in a real tough spot unless they really flood the market with some of these cards like a Tarmogoyf. The prices aren't really ever going to go down, at least that much. So, and collectors are probably happy with that. So maybe they're making collectors happy, but they're not making players happy. And ultimately, for the game to be successful and for formats like Modern to be successful, you need to get a strong player base. And if you create a too large of a barrier for entry, that's just simply not going to happen. Now, a card like Tarmogoyf, $150, $180, yeah, that's painful, but you know what? I don't have to play Modern with Tarmogoyf. I can play one of the many other decks that do very, very well in Modern, and I don't need to necessarily go out and get Tarmogoyfs. But when you start messing around with land bases, that's a little different. I could run a Flooded Strand instead of a Steam Vents, sure. And you know what? 95% of the time, that's probably just going to be good enough. But I want to be competitive. I want to go out there and win tournaments and, maybe place in a Grand Prix. Yeah, you know what? I kind of need that Steam Vent. That 5% of the time when it's going to be relevant could be the difference between me winning, $2,000 or me winning $100, So this is kind of a big deal. And I know they'll be reprinted. I know they'll show up at some point. But at least for right now, I think this is hurting the Modern format. I think it's hurting a lot of players who wanted to get into Modern. I think it's hurting a lot of players that maybe had these cards and sold them off because they're afraid of the market bottoming out, like we saw with Shocklands and Ravnica came out. And now they just can't play with these cards either anymore. And I think that's kind of sad. And, I don't have the answers. Wizards has to continue walking this line of making their players happy, making their collectors happy, and making their investors happy. And sometimes the players win, like we saw maybe with Khans of Tarkir. Sometimes the collectors win, like we see with things like the reserve list. And sometimes the investors win. And I think that's what we're seeing with maybe some of the issues with Magic Online, as well as this policy to kind of hold on to these Fetchlands until a time when they're needed to help sell another set. So that's business, I guess. If they didn't provide money for their investors, they wouldn't be in business. So I guess it kind of is what it is, and it's just something that we all have to kind of live with and deal with. But at the same time, it doesn't make it feel any better if I want to get into Modern and I just can't afford the land base, or I can't afford the cards to do so. And the last thing you want is Modern to really go the way of Legacy. I love Legacy. It's an amazing format, but let's face it, is there any growth in Legacy? Will there be any growth in Legacy, or is it going to continue to get smaller and smaller? I mean, we used to see more regular Legacy Grand Prix. I think next year in the new schedule, there's only 3 scheduled. There's really, other than maybe the Star City games open, but even then, their open series used to be Legacy every week. It was Standard Saturday and Legacy Sunday. Now it's only Legacy every once in a while, and they do a 5K Legacy the other weeks. So Legacy is not a healthy format right now. And now Modern still isn't to that point, but at some point could it get to that point? Which is crazy to think, because they do have the ability to reprint cards, which they don't have a reserve list in Modern, but they just haven't found the balance of, I guess, trying to make everybody happy and finding a good way to reprint those cards. So having said that, that's really, I guess, my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know in the Market Watch videos, I've read a lot of comments about people just not happy about not being able to get their hands on these cards, but love to get your thoughts on all of this with Modern. And also, if you have any ideas for other topics for future episodes, be happy to hear those as well. So, hey, thanks as always for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. These videos are made possible by viewers just like you through Patreon. Please check out our Patreon page by clicking on the top right. Down below, we have more links to quality Magic the Gathering content. And if you're interested in seeing trading cards open that aren't Magic the Gathering, check out the link to our trading card channel, Heroes and Legends Trading Cards. Thanks, and have a great day.